This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello, welcome back to this week's Red Side of the Trent. Joining me are Reiss and Mason Coy. Delighted to have you both here to talk about everything that's been happening with Forest. Everything's hottening up. Igor Jesus is absolutely blitzing the Club World Cup. Nuno'S signed a 3-year deal. Elanga's been linked away to Newcastle and playing paddle in bleeding Bournemouth shirts. It's all happening basically. But Reiss, how are we first of all?
All that aside, mate. Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well, especially in this heat, which I'm thankful for the nice weather, but the heat is like literally ridiculous. Mason, how are we?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. It's proper pre-season weather, is what I like to call it. Pre-season weather.
Proper pre-season. If anyone needs one-to-ones, some fitness, Mason's your man, and it'll be horrible because I've done it and I pulled my calf just before the charity game, which was a great spectacle as we all played. Reiss scored a couple. Mason scored a worldie. Did you enjoy the game, boys?
Yeah, really good. It was really good. Obviously, a lot of people down for a good cause and got to see some good players play some good football. I'll stay quiet on that for a little bit.
Mason, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, like I said, it's my first time down, so yeah, I loved it. To be fair, I didn't really know what to expect, so I was quite happy to be a sub and get a feel for it before I came on. But yeah, no, it was a good day and like reset for a good course. So no, it was class.
Yeah, cool. No, it was brilliant. I'm really thankful for everyone that come. I'm pretty sure I think I've said this already before in previous pods. I'm really thankful that everyone's come. The total at the moment is just shy of £5,000 at the moment. So if anyone wants to donate, then check out my pinned tweet on Twitter if you can find me. But we're going to talk. The main topic of today, we're going to talk about Nuno'S new 3-year deal that got announced at like a 6 a.m. tweet the other day, which I found peculiar, and it was like branded as Marinakis hands Nuno 3-year deal. I don't know if that was a little bit of a jibe to Gary Neville, Reiss. Thoughts on that note first before we dive into the bigger picture.
It's our admin again, isn't it? With the S-housery. Everything we do is definitely well thought out, isn't it? It's even down to the timing of it was a bit bizarre, sort of waking up to it. I mean, I actually woke up to the WhatsApp in our group from Mason just saying get in Nuno, and I didn't really know what had gone on. The first I'd seen is just assumed something had happened with him. But yeah, it's definitely calculated, and it's a certain finger up to a certain man, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Flamingo have been doing some S-housery in the Club World Cup, Mason, but I feel like ours is quite up there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm here for it as well. I'm number one advocate for it, mate, because everyone's always got a lot to say about us. So why not give a bit back? It's not illegal, is it? It's like I feel like even when footballers do normal interviews now as well, like people are like, oh wow, like he shouldn't do that. Why? Why shouldn't we give a bit back? Like we're there for the taking at all times, it seems, with Sky and everyone else. So yeah, I'm more than happy for it. I quite enjoy it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm buzzing. It was like you said, strange timing. Very strange. I don't understand that. I don't know whether there was anything behind that we're not aware of. But yeah, it was good all round, really. And like I say, anything to get a middle finger up at Gary Neville, I suppose.
Just stick it with yourself, and obviously, Reiss, feel free to join in whatever Mason says. But 3 years is a sign of showing commitment to Nuno and the project, you'd say, because Marinakis hasn't in the past has backed managers. He gave Steve Cooper a new deal. I said that on TalkSPORT to Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino the other day that we lost 2-1 at Leeds United, and everyone's going always waving goodbye, and he got a new contract. It was very, very odd, but like at the same time, you're like, well, fair play to Marinakis for having some some loyalty there and some confidence in the manager. But 3 years for Nuno, if he's here in the next 3 years, within the next 3 years, you'd say that's success, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think it's kudos to their relationship again, a middle finger to someone else, but like he deserves it. They want a manager last season for me that deserved a new contract more than Nuno in the whole probably footballing tier system. Unless there's some team who were bottom and won the league by that we don't know about. But yeah, honestly, I was over the moon. And 3 years is strange for me because it's not a long time in terms of long-term project, if that makes sense. Do you know when you see managers come out, especially now we're used to Chelsea giving out 8 years and 9 years and stuff like that. But 3 years, I think, is the perfect time because it still keeps him a little bit on his toes. And I'm not saying Nuno would rest on his laurels or anything, but I'd love to see what their plan is over the next 3 years, where they want to be in 3 years. I think that's the intriguing bit for me, to be fair, because like I said, 3 years in terms of football, it's not necessarily a long time. We've had a rapid rise, and Nuno would have been forgiven for coming 15th last year with a better points tally and had been comfortable a month to go in the season. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what their plans are for the next 3 years. But on the whole, mate, buzzing, yeah, because obviously we all love Nuno, don't we? So it's only a positive.
Anything to add to that, Reiss?
No, I just think that it obviously thoroughly deserves it, and all any owner or fan asks of a manager is that you get the optimum amount out of your players, whether that's individually or as a collective, and he's managed to do both. So now obviously the next challenge for Nuno is take them players that are hopefully going to stay and build them again whilst maintaining a core, but introducing new players and keeping some form of consistency in terms of league finish or being in and around that. Because if you taper off, some people will call us a flash in the pan or deem it less successful. So it's a big challenge for him. But if he's got 3 years to do it, I mean, we all know that. What was it? You three bad results away from a crisis. It's not a long time really, but he deserves it, and I trust him. And it's a sign from everyone outwardly because. What was it? How many games ago was it where Marinakis is on the pitch and apparently Nuno really wasn't happy with it and he was off. So I think it's starting the summer off in the right foot, to be honest.
Do you get the notion that as well though that Nuno is going to have to adapt some sort of style, because last season we was very counter-attacking, and it's said by the end of it like our home form was quite poor by the end of it. Like Brentford and Everton did a job by letting us have the ball. So do you think he's got to now show us a B-side to his game now in terms of what we do against certain teams? And I think that kind of might show in the transfer market early doors with Igor Jesus, with how he presses from the front maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's got to be more like tactical diversity, haven't they? That's just the next step for everyone, playing staff and players at the club. That's the next step, because we sort of got tucked up when teams played us at our own game. Especially towards the back end of the season, it looked really quite easy to beat us, quite easy to break us down, and quite worryingly, I think the Brentford game springs to mind. We was just quite easy ball over the top, 2 straight passes, and there were 2 goals from it. So he's definitely got to show that. But everything that I've seen from Nuno, both here and historically, would lean into that he's more than capable of doing that. So it's once again another challenge for Forest to overcome, and another stick to beat us over the head with until we overcome it.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. But Mason, how important is it that he stayed with the European experience and had a European campaign to come? Hopefully a long one, because obviously we've got to wait to see who our opponent is in the playoffs. I mean, we've been all kind of fretting over what kind of Bulgarian farmers we might receive at the City Ground, but hopefully a long one, and we can lean on that experience, especially with him and Willy Bolly obviously signing a new deal as well. I forgot to even mention that. It's in my notes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say, mate. To be honest, we've basically give Bolly a new deal, give Nuno a new deal, and gone, there's your experience. Let's see what we can build from that. Like you say, it's perfect for that situation. Nuno is. I feel someone mentioned a stat on your pod last time round. I think it might have been Reiss, said something like he won 10 out of 12 games after European matches, which is unheard of, really, because the likes of Villa and Newcastle and stuff like that, they struggled massively in their game after their European games. So if Nuno's got that experience, then yeah, 100%, mate. Let's lean on every last bit that we can do, because like we've all touched on previously, and I've put a pinned message in our group chat, which is obviously separate to your podcast one, saying can't wait to lift the Conference League as soon as we got it after the Chelsea match. So we all want to win it, so we're going to have to lean on little bits like that, aren't we? And obviously, like I say, Willy Bolly is a massive part of the changing room with experience, leadership, not necessarily minutes, but you could see more of them this year, and I'm happy to do that as well, because he's shown his weight in gold, hasn't he, really, in the last season or two, especially Willy Bolly, what a man, and like Nuno as well. So yeah,
no, it's gonna be fun. I think the ability that we'll have with Conference League, not to downplay any of the teams that we're going to potentially play against, but they are going to be far weaker than us. So we should be able to rotate a little bit more and then still be strong for Premier League games, hopefully. But Reiss, you touched on about keeping certain players and keeping staff is important. Keeping one player that's been in headline news is Anthony Elanga again, obviously linked to Newcastle United for, I mean, they're quoting £50 million at us or whatever. We're saying, well, no, it's £60 to £70 million potentially. There's been another rumour today as we do this pod that Harvey Barnes might get thrown in the mix to, I mean, kind of perks my ears up a little bit. I've always liked Harvey Barnes. I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. But to be honest, I would hate Elanga to leave our football club right now, especially with how he's grown over the last 2 seasons with us.
Yeah, 100%. But it's only important to keep him if he wants to be here. Now, I won't use the analogy that Mason used in our group chat for him, but if he's batting his eyelids like the way he seems to be at the moment, then no one's immune from me saying, then we don't want you here. It appears at present, I could be wildly wrong, that he's quite interested in that move, and it does seem to be flirting with that idea quite publicly. Now, whether that's just the way he is, whether that's just his personality, whether he's got a lot of friends in football, I don't quite see why, Sven Botman and alike, and they're all sort of all of a sudden commenting on everything he does. But I don't want to lose him. With all that being said, I don't want to lose him. He is vital to the team, and he's been brilliant. He's been excellent. He was arguably one of the players of the season again with a handful of others. And let's not forget, he only really played half of it very well. Because up until Christmas time, before that Villa goal, he was struggling a little bit, wasn't he? He was in and out of the team, and people were calling for Jota Silva and things like that. So yeah, I would love to keep him on a personal basis, but by that very same notion, if his head is in Newcastle, then we can't afford any form of sort of passengers or anarchy to come with what we've got. Seems to be a settled sort of squad. So that's up for obviously Marianakis and Nuno to decide. But it does seem, I personally think it's quite bizarre the way Elanga's gone about it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Mason, have you got anything else to say about it? And what kind of figure would you want to see bashed about before we kind of said, well, we'll look at that, because it's a lot of money that we could get for someone like him and reimburse that into investment of the squad. But also, can Newcastle actually afford that with the whole PSR shenanigans that happened last season, where we took away Elliot Anderson and how he's flourished? I mean, there might be scope for that in some respects, but I think we value Elanga so highly, as Reiss put, he was one of our players of the season.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's pros and cons for each scenario, to be honest. Just touching on what Reiss said, like it could be absolutely nothing, but I'm obviously, like Reiss said, I'm not going to use the term that I mentioned in our group chat about it. But for me, there's just too much going on. There's too much like commenting on everything that Will Osler's doing. Now Gordon's jumped on it. Now Botman's jumped on it. Even the fact that there's a Newcastle shirt. Do you know, if that's, obviously none of us have been in that scenario, but if that's me, I'd like to think that if I wanted to stay somewhere, I'd say to my mate, oh, there's someone taking photos of us today, or my mate who's taking a photo, get him in that Newcastle top away. Do you know what I mean? Like rightly so, people have touched on him wearing a Bournemouth top. I get it. That doesn't mean he's going to sign for Bournemouth. Just because there's a Newcastle top in his thing doesn't mean he's going to sign for Newcastle. But it's just, there's little subtle things going off, and it's like we've seen it happen before where certain players are pushing for stuff. I'm not saying he's pushing for 1 minute, but do you know what I mean? There's no smoke without fire, is there really? But for me, in terms of on the pitch, I think I've said this in our group chat. I think there's 2 players that are our most important players for how we play, and Elanga's one of them. And I think I'd rather lose Gibbs White any day of the week over Elanga. And people are going to come for me for that, but come for me. Come for me. We played, what was our main threat? Our main threat last season was counter-attacking and pace. Who's one of the quickest players in the league? Elanga. Who contributed to the most goals and assists? Obviously, minus Wood's 20 goals. Elanga. How young is he? He's got 3 years on Gibbs White even, as it stands, 2 years even. Like, for me, I'd slap 75, 80 mil and say, if you can't match it, it's a win-win. If we do, we get £80 million worth of funds, and if not, we keep him. Because we've also got to look at it as well. We're trying to get back into the top, God knows what the club are thinking, but into the European spaces. Newcastle are going to be in and amongst that as well. Why would you want to strengthen a rival? You wouldn't. And there's a reason they're willing to get rid of Harvey Barnes for Elanga, if that's true, because Elanga's better than Harvey Barnes. So why would, you know what I mean? I just think it's a backward step. For me, I think, yeah, I'd rather drive Gibbs White to wherever he wants to go instead of selling Elanga, to be honest, mate.
Blimey, what a hot take. But fair enough. It's an opinion. I mean, I'm in the camp of keeping him because I get excited when you watch him. When you watch players that are that fast, it is fun to watch. He's frustrating at the same time, but you can't not say he's improved every single season, and he seems like a good lad to have around in around the changing room and the ground. But I can also see why the attraction is there for Newcastle playing in Champions League football next season. It makes sense in one way than others. But we'll move on. And Jota Silva has been linked away to Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. Reiss, I mean, I didn't realise we bought him only for 7 million. So I mean, if we sell, are you happy to sell him? I'm assuming you are.
I am. I think he's victim of circumstance personified, though, Jota, because he was brought in to grow with us as we jumped from 15th to 12th to where we are now, and given the opportunity and time to sort of become a better player and more adapted to the league, and he sort of ended up being a S or bust, last throw of the dice, or a throw him right back in the semi-final of an FA Cup. So he's I feel sorry for him, but I do also think I think we've seen what Jota is now. I think after 3 or 4 games you could see what he is. He's very raw, very tenacious, and I would even argue that off what's he probably made 20 appearances, would you say? I reckon from the 20 appearances or so, I would, if I'm Forest, I'd say yes, we bought him for 7 million. Yes, it was only a year ago, but in that time he's popped up with 3-4 Premier League goals, and their Premier League appearances. We're a premium league compared to the Turkish league. We want a little bit more than we paid for him. I would even lean towards say, if you give us 10, we'll think about it, because there's that way. If you want to be arrogant about it, we've got a Premier League tax on it now, and he's on paper proved himself in the Premier League that he's capable. I mean, his chance creation was actually quite high, bizarrely. Or was it big moments or whatever Opta want to call it these days, the statistics around that. So, yeah, I'm happy for him to go because I think we've seen what he is, and he's not going to get much better. But I do also feel a little bit sorry for him in the same breath. But if you can make money on him or break even, then it's a winner in it. You've basically had someone on loan for the season for free who's helped us out, shake his hand, and he takes his beautiful eyebrows off into the sunset.
I mean, yeah, that's one way of putting it. Mason, a bit of a question for you, because I know you wanted to mention this in our chat that we had with about notes and stuff, but because obviously we need wingers, so him going would immediately mean we're hoping to get a winger in. Is there anyone that's kind of piqued your interest of coming? Because obviously Yilmaz has been linked with us for ages. I think he's at Galatasaray. I can't even get my words out, but he's also been linked So I can't remember. I put it in our chat, didn't I? He'd been linked to someone else. I can't remember who. Maybe Newcastle. Newcastle just copying us. Someone like him, would you want him to come in if we was going to lose Jota Silva?
Oh yeah, 100%. We need better. I'm not even fussed who it is, to be honest, mate. I think we just need better. For me, I genuinely thought, just to myself, I thought Jota would possibly stay. I thought obviously Sosa is more than likely going to go as well. I didn't think we'd lose both, just purely for squad depth reasons. I think there's going to be a lot more games this year, touch wood, if we beat this Bulgarian 9th division team that we're going to get in the playoffs. Because I think he just covers 3 bases. And in my ideal world, you keep him as a 4th, 5th choice winger, 4th choice striker. But that's obviously with the wages he's on. I don't know how much money he's on, or if it's a suitable offer like Reiss said, and you're gaining a bit of money, then it's a no-brainer. But yeah, for me, there's been quite a few names, and there's that Akliouche from, I don't know if I've butchered that or not, mate, to be honest, from the French league.
Monaco.
Yeah, from Monaco. For me, he's, you know what I'm like, mate. I'm a football nerd, and I think me and you are on a similar wavelength for stuff like that, because mine's more a FIFA background. But he's the one who looks like he'd suit us, because I think we're desperate for a bit of balance, and a left-footed winger is, off the right especially, is something that we need. Whether that's him, whether that's that Nico Gonzalez that was linked, the one who was at Juve, whether that's God knows who else who's going to be linked to us. Obviously, I know it was a long time ago now when it was in Buemo. That's obviously not going to happen since the Champions League drop off. But yeah, mate, I think we just need better quality. For me, if you've got 3 wingers that are in with a shout every single week of starting, and there's no drop off, you're laughing, and then you don't mind keeping a Jota. But if you're getting one who's a bit below par, then you need another one, really. And that's why I think it comes out of John Percy, doesn't it? He's said that we want 2 more wingers, so it looks like we're willing to lose Sosa and Jota, really. So it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing, because it more than likely, law of averages, the people we're replacing with are going to be better, which we do need. So yeah, that's my answer, mate.
Yeah, you like the look of, is it Ritsu Doan from?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's just another left-footed winger, mate. For me, I think that's the one thing we missed. Someone who's just going to vary up the game a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, Cho does it on the other side, but it kind of doesn't go down the line. Whereas you need someone who can do a bit of both. Someone who even can drift in off the right and receive it in a little pocket, and you turn it in with a left foot. I just think it gives you a whole different dimension, especially if you've got Aina bombing on behind him. It opens up his game into a whole new dimension, doesn't it? So, yeah, someone like that, Ritsu Doan or Doan, however you say it, Akliouche, there's players around, mate, and it's just whether we find the right one. And obviously, recently we've been finding the right ones, haven't we? And obviously, I'm guessing we're probably going to touch on that beautiful Brazilian man that we've signed.
Yeah, no, I mean, even Bakayoko has been linked away from PSV. I mean, I don't know why we're not in that kind of conversation, to be honest, with, was it 25 million euros being touted? I mean, that'd be a bargain if you get someone like him. But yeah, touching on the beautiful Brazilian man, or men, because they've both been performing very well. I mean, Cuiabano seems like it's a bit on the back burner there, Reiss, but Igor Jesus has been lighting up the Club World Cup, 2 goals in 2 games, scored the win against PSG. Looks a handy player from what I've seen of him in those 2 games that Botafogo have actually won. So it's going to be a bit more delayed time before he's unveiled in front of the Trent, walking across it or something.
Yeah, no, he looks good. He looks good. What I like about him from what I've seen, he seems to be quite isolated up front, and he still manages to hold it up and bring players in. Seems to score a fair few headers as well. He doesn't look the tallest, but he seems to be decent at getting between his centre halves and nicking a header. His goal the other day, deflection, but you've got to create the chance. He just seems, whoever it would have been, as long as he was stylistically different from Chris Wood, you don't really mind. That's nothing against Wood. You just need different sort of styles to switch it up. I do actually personally think, from what I've seen of Jesus, they probably actually complement each other quite well, to be honest, as well. If people take this as it sounds, then they'll think I'm an idiot, but he's somewhere between Wood and Awoniyi, if that sort of makes sense. Is that in between them 2 styles of, obviously, Awoniyi looks like he's running with lead boots on at the moment, but is that in behind sort of pace, but can hold the ball up. Bit of a nice mixture. And if he has signed, like Romano says, and no one's going to nick him between now and then, he looks to be a really good addition. And obviously, as does Cunha at the back.
Yeah, I mean, Mason, anything to add on that? And then we've got to talk about Jair Cunha, because he's had 2 good games against PSG. He seemed like a stalwart, especially from, I think, bringing it out from the back. He seems pretty comfortable. I mean, it could be another Murillo situation.
Well, fingers crossed, mate. I think if we get another Murillo situation, lightning struck twice, aren't it? But yeah, for me, touching on Igor, is it Jesus or Jesus? Which one we're going with? I'm going to say Jesus because I'm from Nottingham, mate.
But, I go Jesus for anyone in an NG postcode, but Igor Jesus anyone South America, I think.
It looks a threat, doesn't he? It looks decent. Like I've watched both of his every single touches in every game. When I let them montage, I don't know who's putting them on Twitter, to be fair, but fair play to him. Thank you very much. But no, he looks a handful. And like Reiss said, the thing that pleases me is he looks isolated a lot of the time because they play a one up top, and there's times where Wood's been isolated a lot. And for me, that's not necessarily a strength of Wood. People look at Wood and think he's a target man, but he's not. Wood just isn't a target man. I think Igor Jesus looks like he drops off into pockets. He looks like he peels wide a lot of the time as well, which gives us a completely new dimension. And if the likes of Elanga are staying and Elanga can drift in off the right centrally, then we look like a different threat already, don't we? Which is what we alluded to earlier. We need a plan B tactically. Looks like we could have potentially found it already. Fingers crossed. If he lives up to the expectation now, which could be a downside. This could be a bad thing. I don't want to be that guy and put a dampener on it, but just because he scored a goal against PSG doesn't mean he's a world beater all of a sudden. It doesn't. And I think Forest fans are either really high or really low, and I'm trying to stay somewhere in the middle because I don't want to put too much expectation on him. Because if he doesn't score a hat-trick against Brentford first day, I don't want people calling him every name under the sun. Just because he's still going to need time. He's still going to need a big, beautiful New Zealand arm around him. He's going to need it because at the end of the day, there's a reason he hasn't moved, because he said himself, didn't he wasn't ready. If he thinks he's ready now, let's put it to the test. But like I said, the positive side is he looks a player. He looks really good. But with the centre half, mate, yeah, if we can get another Murillo on our hands, let's do it, mate, because he looks really good. Like you said, he looks comfortable stepping forward. He's 6'6". Like there's nothing not to like about a 6'6" Brazilian. Like there's just not. But yeah, he looks a great player as well. And to keep a clean sheet against them PSG attackers is no mean feat, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the thing I like about Igor, I think, is what Reiss said, is about him being able to drop into different positions. I think I put a tweet out that I think my hot take is, I mean, I might say this before the season starts, I think he will get like 15 goal contributions. That's assists and goals. And I think that'll be a really, really good return in a first season. He might get more because of the Conference League. There might be some teams where he can he's a bit overpowering almost. So it's all good. And I mean, I like Jair. He kind of looks like Ibrahimovic, but plays at the centre half because he's that good on the ball from what I've seen. He's like doing pirouettes and stuff near the centre circle. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we'll move on to news that I think I'm not sure if John Percy put this, but there's definitely been murmurs of it because Callum Hudson-Odoi has been linked with Napoli because Conte's still there now. He's actually done a 360 and gone back. A 180, should I say. Him, Neco Williams, and Aina are set to hopefully get new deals sorted. I mean, all of them are very important, aren't they, Reiss?
Yeah, they're better than signings in a way for me. I think you've got to keep that together, all of them. So to nail them down, I'm obviously assuming that Aina's is going to be longer than a year this time again. To nail all them down and add additional value to them through the contract is absolutely huge for the club. I mean, we've slowly under the radar been chipping away at this, haven't we, over the past 6 months, really. We're sort of slowly going, this player needs a new contract, and then it starts to happen. Obviously, including Nuno now. So it's quite clear that we've got no plans of losing any of them, and we all see and the playing staff and everyone else understand how important they are. So it's really good. It's the best news, I think. It's better than being linked with someone quite exciting for me, is to maintain and keep what you've got, where all the teams around us who would be challenging with us again next year are getting decimated. We're sort of keeping ours, which is actually really, really positive. I mean, there's the likes of Bournemouth and Brentford and teams who want to be in that middle to upper, I just hemorrhaging players. So if we're keeping ours, then it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth losing left back, centre half, could lose another centre half, lost the keeper. There's a lot to replace there. I mean, you look at like Wolves lost Aina, lost Cunha, they're losing Semedo. I mean, that's a lot. Strand Larsen, I don't think was permanent either. So yeah, lots of teams getting weakened around us. Obviously Brentford losing the manager and backroom staff, and Keith Andrews, of all people, going in there. That's a very interesting choice. I know it's promotion from within, but from a set-piece coach to being first-team manager of a Premier League side when you've never managed before is very, very interesting indeed. So that will be a good one to keep an eye on. Mason, who would you say out of the three is the most important that we nail down? I know it's important that we nail them all down, but let's give some level of importance.
Oh, wowza. That's a tough one. It's between Cho and Neco, just purely based on age, I'd say. Sell on value. I'll probably go Neco Williams, to be honest, mate, because Hudson-Odoi's got that dirty sell on clause, hasn't he, from Chelsea. So I don't know I'm not sure whether that's wiped or not if he signs a new deal. I don't know. Don't think it is, no. Yeah, so I'd say Neco Williams, mate, just purely based off his performances last season. I think still to this day, I still think he's underrated. I think he's been arguably value for money, best signing since we've come up. Obviously, you've got the ridiculous ones like Murillo, but in terms of when people were scoffing at us when we paid, what was it, 17 million for him? Well, he's worth every single penny and probably double that now. So again, it's another bit of work from the recruitment team. But yeah, Neco Williams, but all three are massively important to the way we play. And like Reiss said, keeping that team spirit. We know Aina defies team spirit. He is team spirit, isn't he? And so is Hudson-Odoi. So yeah, I think keeping that core group. Obviously, you're bound to lose one or two, and the footballers know that. It's part and parcel of it. You're going to lose one or two. And that we've seen, obviously, with Harry Toffolo, the players looked absolutely devastated, like we see him with his message, and he looked devastated, which is obviously sad. But that was more for off the stuff reasons, because he's a top bloke, not necessarily the football side. So, but yeah, keeping everyone together, mate, it's vital, isn't it? And if we want to keep progressing, it's got to come to this point, really. And I think, like Reiss touched on, there's people getting absolutely decimated, and Brighton are almost at that stage, and we're meant to be following their model now, where they're saying we want to keep players now. When is going to be the point where they build on instead of just doing what they're doing season after season? And we were meant to be following their model, so we're clearly doing it very well. So yeah, it's pleasing. Like Reiss said, it's better news than being linked with all these brilliant European players that we are being linked with. But this is better news in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on the Brighton thing, like, you need to start getting into Europe and doing it consistently, don't you, to start keeping those sorts of players, and then obviously buying better. I mean, yeah, they've been, quite a few of them been linked away. I know Matt O'Reilly's been linked away, and João Pedro and people like that. So that's interesting. Neco Williams kind of defies of like how you can come to a football club like us, Reiss, and build on your experience and improve year on year out, because I think at one point last season we was all wondering whether he'd actually even get into the team, and Atalanta were bidding for him potentially £20 million or euros, I think it was, and we was all kind of saying, well, shall we accept, because he wasn't getting in the team. Suddenly he comes in at left back, made it his own, and look how he's come on leaps and bounds in terms of his defending. Maybe his attacking has to improve, but as a defender, first and foremost, he's improved tenfold.
Yeah, I think well, yeah, I completely agree. But I think he's another one who's a bit unlucky, because he's one of our first signings. So he sort of lives in the memory from a time when us as a club weren't used to paying that much for players. And he was a young lad, and people need time. People need time to adapt and grow. And you've also got to remember, until his best mate nearly screeching music to him at the back stick and broke his jaw, he was absolutely brilliant for us. He was showing that side of his game again, that he was really starting to improve. And then he missed the back. I think he missed the back end of the season, didn't he, off the back of breaking his jaw. Then got a little bit unlucky with sort of team selection, and was really, really being written off. And I've always been an advocate for him. It's not sort of a captain hindsight. I've always sort of stuck up for him and could see that he was decent and had potential. And I do think he's been tarred with the brush of 17 million at a time in our sort of footballing history where we're used to spending 2-3 at most. And then to take that leap and then see him not quite perform, it really opened him up to a world of stick, to be honest. And let's be right, if we signed him now for that value, having seen him how he's performed, everyone would be saying that's a ridiculous signing. Some things just take a little bit of time to bear fruit, and that's what we've got to remember with every signing. Same with Sangare, we're slowly starting to see it now, and people are different. Some people are just absolute mentality monsters who can just drop straight into a team, but he's moved from his boyhood club. He's moved probably the furthest he's ever moved away from his friends, his family. He's relocated. He's in a new city. He's around new lads for probably the first time. There's a lot of things that you've got to factor in, and now he's really, really settled in. He's got a solid mate in Elliot Anderson, who seems to really sort of, them two are a bit of a pair like Aina and Cho, to be honest, and everything's sort of fallen into place for him. And then the reward off the back of it is a new bumper contract, and then we reap the benefits if Atalanta or another wants to come in again, because you can ask for more than double that we paid for him, and it's justified.
Do you want to come in, Mason?
Yeah, I've got two things I've literally just been thinking while Reiss has been thinking. The number one point for me, I think, it's arguably out of Neco Williams' hands. Well, it is. The best thing that can happen for him is if we signed a left-footed left-back, because, like Reiss just, you said, sorry, Adam, he needs to work on his attacking ability. It's not his fault he's right-footed. It's not. And I think that if we get a left-footed left-back in, and who's good at attacking and can whip a ball in, I think it gives us that other balance, and it takes a bit of pressure off Neco as well to create. Obviously, that will either mean Neco's on the bench or he's on the other side. So, and obviously, if he is on the other side, he will need to improve from his previous performances there, defensively especially. But like, even so, that like, he is a work in progress, and there was times last season, great assist for Aina sticks in my memory away at Brentford. So we can do it. You can do it. And yeah, I think that's number one. And number two, if he does sign this new deal, please, God forbid, someone take number 7 off him, because it's driving me mental. Don't get me wrong, yeah. I love Neco Williams, but he can't keep wearing number 7.
Maybe that's how we tie down Hudson-Odoi. Like, he's like, right, I need 7 off Neco and I'll sign. And maybe that's how we just kind of happens, and he's like taking it away from him as he's crying or something. I don't know. Yeah, because we're like, right, Neco, we need to keep Callum. So yeah, no, it's good. I think all three are important. Aina, like Reiss mentioned, leader of the Vibes Cartel. I'm sorry, Mason, you said that. Neco, very good. Obviously got an honourable mention for Callum, because even though his numbers weren't on paper very good, you see what he offers us, like his ball retention, his intelligence on the ball of keeping possession. I think next season, if we were to progress into a team that has the ball a little bit more, I think we see more from Hudson-Odoi and what he can offer and what he can do, because he can pick a pass out as well when you give him the opportunity as well. He's quite cute with that sort of thing. But just moving on, a little thing that happened obviously last night. Elliot Anderson is into the semi-final with England under 21s after scoring a penalty coming off the bench. I think he won the most duels and fouls in 50 minutes that he played, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Reiss, I absolutely love Elliot Anderson, and I mean, it could be argued. I mean, Danny Tring put this on Twitter that it would be more detrimental to lose Elliot Anderson than it would Morgan Gibbs White at this moment in time. And there's an obvious push that he can make to get in that England side alongside Declan Rice. Big statement, I think.
I don't think it's that much of a big statement to it. I've been on here before and said I think his ceiling's higher than Gibbs White's. And once again, unfortunately, given the touchy nature of our fan base, this is sort of the prerequisite is it doesn't mean that I think any less of Gibbs White. I've got to say that before I move on to my point. But yeah, he's such a well-rounded number 8. And once again, I actually made this sort of point to my brother-in-law, who's not a fan of Forest. He's doing his coaching badges, and he was sort of asking what sort of examples of Forest players, because the kid he was coaching is a Forest player. Said, what examples of players can I use for this kid? He's a centre midfielder. I says, well, don't even have to go outside of Forest. You look no further than Elliot Anderson. If you want to tell a kid how to be tenacious and strong and have an edge to your game, but still be technically tidy, and you're dribbling, you the way you receive the ball, the way you pass, the way you play, it's just sort of all encompassing. And if, or when, should I say, when a few more goal contributions come into his game, I think you're looking at a real problem on our hands to keep him. Real big problem to keep him, because he at the moment has grown nicely with us where we finished. If we would have finished 13th or 14th this season, I'd have been very, very worried for us keeping him this year. So where Jota sort of falls off and was unfortunate where we sort of ceilinged out, I think we've sort of moved rapidly and helped Anderson, because we've only got a season left with him. If we don't get into Europe, if we don't win in Leipzig next May, when obviously we're already there, I think you're going to really, really struggle to keep him beyond any other player in a Forest shirt. I really do. And it's a concern, but once again, nature of the beast. But best player for me by a mile.
Mason?
Yeah, 100%. I think you two know how strongly I think of it. I feel like he's my own. I love him. Honestly, I think he's possibly my favourite Forest player of all time. Like, just pointing it out there, and he's only been there a season. He like Reiss said, obviously I coach as well. If any midfielders who are up and coming want to watch a midfielder, for me, watch Elliot Anderson, because there's not an obvious weakness in his game. He is some player. And for me, I said it earlier on, we've got 3 very important players who you'd argue are our main players. For me, he's top. He's the most important, because I think if you take him out, obviously we've been, touch wood, lucky so far that he hasn't had any serious injuries, so we haven't had to go without him for a long time. But I think you'd notice if we did. And he's one next season for me that could easily, if we say we get a good solid midfielder in a Douglas Luiz type, for me, Elliot Anderson's one that you wrap up and give him the Cole Palmer treatment and say, for these 6 games in the Conference League, you're not kicking a ball, mate. You're not, because we need you. We need him wrapped up in cotton wool, because he's that good. He is honestly, for me, he was up there for player of the season for me last year. Not like Reiss touched on as well. Yeah, he didn't have many goal contributions. If he can add that, we've almost got a Steven Gerrard type player on our hands, because I'm not saying he's as good as Steven Gerrard, because Steven Gerrard for me is one of the best ever midfielders ever. But he's similar, is in that bracket. He doesn't necessarily have a weakness. He's good defending. He can play as a 6, an 8 or a 10. So he's perfect for us at this moment in time, like Reiss also said. But yeah, we're gonna have to grow with him. I see Newcastle fans online all the time. Oh, I can't wait to have him back from my loan. And I get it, it's funny. And PSR gymnastics was what brought him here. But for me, if he carries on, this is no disrespect to Newcastle, us or Elliot Anderson, but he can go further than them. For me, I think if he has another season like he did, and Newcastle finish in the top 5, say they come 5th, where they come 5th, didn't they? Yes. If they come 5th again, I think he's better than that. I genuinely do think he could even be better than that. And I think he possibly could outgrow us and outgrow Newcastle at the same time, because he's that good. And that's not even being disrespectful to Newcastle, because quite frankly, I quite like them, and Villa, weirdly, got little soft spots for them. But yeah, that's my little Elliot Anderson paragraph for you, mate.
Reiss? See you itching.
I was just thinking of the sort of Gerrard comparisons, and people sort of scoff. I think it's stylistically, it's not based on actual like ability. It's stylistically, isn't it? How similar they are or could be. But but that just touching on Mason's last point, yeah, I mean, he was linked with Liverpool, wasn't he? He was linked with Liverpool this season. At some point,
I remember.
Yeah, there was whether it was extremely loose paper talk or lazy paper talk from a certain rag that the Scousers really don't like. I think it was still, his name was put in the same sentence as Liverpool. And it's unsurprising. I think everyone outside of the Forest bubble would be extremely surprised to see him go to someone like that. It sort of takes you to be in the know of other teams to sort of appreciate what he does. But I think that's going to change in the next season. I really do. For example, when you're on TalkSPORT, his name never gets mentioned. Very, very rarely does Elliot Anderson's name get thrown in with Murillo, Chris Wood. Insert generic player Morgan Gibbs-White. When you ask another fan on a preview podcast, I mean, you can preempt their answer as who you're worried about. They just say Morgan Gibbs-White because it's the player they know. I think Elliot Anderson will quickly rise into that bracket next season if he carries on the way he is, and I'm more than comfortable European games because he's still very young and played not a great deal of football, so he needs protecting.
Yeah, I feel like before we signed him, he had a bit of an injury kind of record to kind of, I don't know, be worried a little bit about. And I absolutely love it. I mean, Mason, your comparison to Gerrard is not too far similar. I mean, he's got a similar haircut and a similar blank look in his face sometimes. So, just if he can add more assists, then I think people start to really, really talk about him quite a lot. And I mean, he runs our midfield. He ran England's midfield when he come on last night when I watched it, and I was just like, yeah, he's kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck, and I absolutely love him. I adore him and Dominguez. I think because they're not spoken about so much, you notice a lot more, especially as football kind of nerds who aren't just focused on that little thing, because we all played in central midfield as well at some point in our lives, all different levels. I think we just kind of get drawn to those sort of players. And I really like him. I like that he puts in an horrible tackle, but he can also wrap a ball into strikers' feet and kind of got elasticos in his locker and everything else. So yeah, no, he's got the scope to go as far as he wants. As you said, Mason, he can go somewhere else in Europe if he wanted to, or somewhere else in the Premier League and go to some of the best teams in the world. So no, I agree with you. I absolutely love him and can't wait to see what his progression is like this coming season. But just to round it off, guys, obviously more stadium news has now come out that we're going to expand the Peter Taylor stand is going to come down next season, apparently 5,000 extra seats. I was reading an article, I seen someone say about, it was to do with Newcastle Stadium, but it was to do with the Bernabeu. Bernabeu makes like nearly £1 million a day in revenue, which is absolutely outrageous, by the way. But 5,000 extra seats, Mason, would go a long way in the City Ground, I think, for revenue in terms of lots of different things, because obviously Peter Taylor stand is an absolute shed of a stand, not to put it bluntly, but it is a real, it's not a great stand at all from a neutral's point of view. I mean, even from our point of view, it's horrible, but the improvement will go a long way, and 5,000 extra seats will go a long way for the club making more money as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's very Peter Taylor stand is Carlton Town-esque, is what I like to call it, and it's had its time. It's served as well, but yeah, it's time to upgrade. It's only good news, isn't it? Really, it's only positive news. I think there was obviously murmurings during the season of Toten and stuff like that. Obviously, that's long gone now, which is brilliant news. And like I say, if we can make it a bit prettier, bring in more revenue, then yeah, mate, it's buzzing because it brings us new shiny toys, new players, new everything. Hot water is one. I know everyone will be happy about that. But yeah, mate, honestly, it's positive. And like I say, if we can then pair that up with the Bridgeford and after, then mate, it's flying, aren't we? So yeah, it's positive news. And like, I'm just happy to see all this in my lifetime, to be honest, because there was a time when we were lingering in League One and down the bottom end of the Championship. I didn't think I'd see times like this. So yeah, just grateful, and hopefully by that point my pro membership will be able to be upgraded to a season ticket, and maybe I'll be sat in it, mate. You never know.
Yeah, maybe us three and Wetton are all together holding hands. Reiss, do you think there's a max capacity though the City Ground can go to before we either have to move, or do you think we shouldn't go beyond because it's not really feasible for us to go beyond because we're not maybe we're not, I don't want to put us down, but maybe we're not that big in terms, maybe like 40,000 might be the max.
I think it's perfect 40k. You don't want to grow too quick, and obviously there is always still that negative fear of growing really quick and having an empty stadium. Like sort of, I was all, whether you admit it or not, wishing that Everton's new ground was in the Championship next year. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? 40k is fine. I actually, when I looked at it, I've done a quick Google and had a look earlier just to see roughly what the capacities are, and it puts us just above the mid-table in terms of capacity of stadium in the league, which is where we are. It literally is reflective of where we see ourselves as a fan base and as a club. So I think it's perfect. I think if you went too big, then you've got to stay on the banks of the Trent, so you can only go so big because you lose too much moving away. And I actually think the fans will be more accepting of that than anything else. And then plus, obviously, in the future, you fill sort of the corners in, add an extra couple of K. You're coming around to 45, 50k if you do the right development on the ground anyway. So there's always room for sort of restructuring and moving around where we are at the moment. I'm just really hoping that we sort of take it on how they did with Anfield and sort of build the stand around where you can sort of remain seated in it. And when that final day goes, they sort of knock it down and fill it in for a couple of games into the start of the new season. But yeah, it's all positive, really positive. It's everything we've sort of, like Mason said, everything we've dreamed of, everything we've wished for ages. I might be in the minority, but I'm a little bit sad to see that stand eventually go, because I think that stand holds a lot more of the character. If that stand matched Brian Clough, I don't think as many away fans and neutrals would go, oh, it's got real character. I do think it will lose its edge of that old school feel a little bit, but you have to lose a little bit, don't you, to gain something which is really important as part of the growth of the club. And obviously the boating club's gonna benefit massively. There's going to be randomly loads of nice new parks off the back of it and everything else that comes with it. So yeah, everyone's a winner, and obviously hopefully, like Mason says, we end up with a season ticket off the back of it.
I hope the rowing team improved tenfold with their new shiny boathouse and new boats just flying down the Trent, like just aerodynamics or whatever, your boat dynamics, everything just rapid. Because otherwise, what a waste. You know
we've already got a netball team, so there's nothing wrong with Nottingham Forest boating. There's nothing wrong with
it. We'll start challenging,
swallowing them up as well. Yeah. Oxford away, mate. That'll be the next big one we talk about. Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, do you know? I know it's going to probably keep its name, guys, and just for a bit of fun. But like, it is going to keep Peter Taylor stand as its name, I'd imagine. But do you know if she was going to rename it a different player or a different person to do with the club? I know I'm kind of throwing this right in the mix, but is there anyone that would spring to mind, Mason?
Mate, no. Obviously, I'm younger than you two as well. Well, no, I'm not anyone that deserves necessarily a stand naming after him. No, I'd be happy to stick with Peter Taylor stand. Obviously, going off the pod, you can't name it the Elliot Anderson appreciation stand, can you? So no, mate. Or to be fair, the way we're going on, it'll be named somewhat Brazilian, won't it? We'll fit all the players in it that we're buying. So something along them lines, maybe. But no, I'll be happy to stick with Peter Taylor stand, mate. To be honest.
Reiss, anything less boring?
My mind's in overdrive, mate, thinking of puns, and I said a few in my head, but I can't really I can't repeat them on here, mate, because they're a bit close to the bone, to be honest. There's a you have obviously you've got to keep it the Peter Taylor stand, you really have. But as long as there's like a Adibola corner or something like that, Dele Adibola corner or something like that. I'd like the Capital One to come back, actually. In fact, I wouldn't mind if it was a sponsorship deal with a local sort of ish brand that means something to the club.
Name it after Eva's Grill's fireworks.
Yeah, Eva's Grill. Yeah, the Eva's Grill stand, I think. There is one thing actually that I did see to do with the stand and where we put the Senegalese fans.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any grounds in moving the away fans?
I mean, it would be brilliant. I think the problem has always been policing, but like, I'd want to move it somewhere high.
Can't the police walk upstairs? Is that
apparently not?
Right. Okay. Well, they'll have to take that up with Newcastle then, won't they? Because obviously you're like nosebleed territory up there, don't you? I think you need to stay at base camp at Everest for 3 weeks.
You need oxygen off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, it's just something that was in my mind. I've seen a few people sort of talking about it. I don't know what they did that for, but it'd just be interesting to see if that's something that carries on into the new season, sort of moving the away fans. The only thing I don't like is that away fans above you, it's a recipe for disaster in it, because you're getting something on your head, aren't you? I think that's the only problem. I think that might be the only issue that you face is the one or two idiots who want to do something like that. It's just something I seen the other day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think just going back to your point about how Liverpool did with Anfield, I think that is the general plan for that new stand. I think if I was going to rename it, I think if I was going to look at like players, especially, I feel like John Robertson would get a shout, John McGovern would get a shout, basically all the Johns. Stuart Pearce, possibly. I just think someone of like the modern ilk, I'd probably go for if it wasn't Peter Taylor. But no, I think it's quite right to still honor him and what he did for the football club personally. But yeah, it was just a bit of fun. I mean, we'll have to do a Mount Rushmore episode or something. We'll get some arguments going of who would be our Mount Rushmore kind of players. But no, it's been a good chat. It's been good to update everyone and get a few different opinions on different topics. But if you've enjoyed the pod, drop us a like. It's free. Subscribe for more. We've got some bits coming up in the next week or two. Then obviously once it starts heating up, this pod will start being on a bit of a roll, and we'll see people from that we've had on for the last couple of seasons appear here, there, and everywhere, offering their opinion. But until